Welcome to Storytime at the Rubas, a weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I am your host, Sharla.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel. We're back here on the back porch again. I feel like many people have seen the back porch. We had a dozen people out here at South Star, and there were a couple of pictures and videos that went kind of sort of viral from here.
We had about 30 or so people that Friday night.
Oh my gosh, that was a wild time. But we have already gone through that. We talked about it here. We talked about it on the What podcast. Everybody knows the deal. That was a good time. Can't wait to have everybody back. You know, we never really talked about that. Are we going to have like 30 people in the house again for the next South Star?
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I do too.
We're going to make it bigger and better.
I don't think the house can fit more people, babe.
Oh, it can.
How? Like, we have this house, we have this back porch, we have the Rubus to the side of the house. Where else are people going to go?
We have a whole acre.
You want to have a whole mini Roo like we had at Lindsay's? I mean, I guess it can happen.
I'm just saying, we live in the county.
Yeah.
With no HOA.
That is true. That's how we can get away with all this stuff.
So.
Okay, well, let's just do it again for the next South Star. That sounds good to me. We did have one camper out back. We had birthday girl Shayna in a tent out back. We set up the cot that me and you used at Burning Man, and she said that slept really good.
She did say that, yeah.
Yeah, so, hey, we have to talk about something. So, first of all, there is no big agenda on today's podcast. You guys kind of know the deal if you have gone through the whole cycle of Bonnaroo before. We're kind of in a lull right now while we're waiting on news to come out about, you know, the ticket sales that happened early. Usually they had happened on Black Friday. I think they're happening a little sooner than usual. So we've got about probably 2 or 3 weeks before we start hearing grumbling from Bonnaroo. So this is a good time to just do some nonsense episodes and just kind of hang out, right?
Yes.
So other than like going into our picks in the second half of the episode, there's not much of an agenda to speak of. This is just kind of a hangout episode with Daniel and Sharla on the back porch tonight. But anyways, to get back to one thing that I wanted to talk about, our long national nightmare is over. Bonnaroo has followed Shayna on Twitter.
Happy birthday, Shayna.
She has been hounding them for, I want to say, 2 years.
Years. It's going on for years.
Every time she would be on our show or on the What podcast or anywhere, she would be like, "Hey, Bonnaroo, why are you not following me? I love you." I'm trying to do my impression. She's very loud.
Is that your impression of China?
Yeah, pretty much. Hell yeah, brother! That's her, yeah. Hey, also, we need to give a happy birthday shout out to Andrea. Down in Florida. They survived the hurricane very well.
Andrea and Devin, yeah.
Yeah, Andrea and Devin are down in the Tampa area. And, you know, they're in our group. And I think they're kind of well known around Roo as well. They are somewhere in Tampa. I don't know exactly where. We got some updates from them as Hurricane Milton passed over the other night. They had a fence down and the power was out for a while, of course, but everybody expected that. But they're totally cool. So if you are a Ruvian and you are in the Central Florida area, we're thinking about you. We know it's pretty tough. I'll have some more about that here in just a little bit as to how it relates to some of the stuff I've been doing. But we're thinking of you. We know that was a double whammy. There was 2 in a row.
Yeah, it was wild,
Yeah. There was, what was the one that came first?
Helene?
Helene. I was about to say Hera. I was going to give her a Greek goddess name or something.
No, Helene.
Yeah, that one hit, you know, Tennessee and the Carolinas pretty hard. We're thinking about you guys too. So, friend of the show and friend to many of you, Dave from the Monkey Bar, is kind of in the area in Johnson City. I texted back and forth with him a little bit. It's not that bad in Johnson City. His place and his bar are just fine. But I know there's some other Ruvians in that area as well that have been impacted. So you guys in that area around Asheville and those of you around Tampa, we've been thinking about you. It's been a tough time lately, you know. Wow, that is a long way of going around. This is obviously going to be a no agenda episode. Going back to what I was talking about, yes, Shayna has been followed by Bonnaroo, and I'm so happy for her.
Yes.
She's been wanting that for a very long time. But yeah, it's been wild. So again, happy birthday to Andrea and Shayna. Both on the same day. So what is the astrological sign right now? I forget. I don't keep up with that very much, I'll be honest.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not big on that. Somebody's like screaming
Libra,
at us.
maybe.
Libra?
Maybe.
I just know I'm a Virgo. I just don't really keep up with that stuff.
I am a Taurus.
Oh, yeah. You're a Ford Taurus?
I'm a Ford Taurus.
Everybody had that car in 1999.
I did not have a Ford Taurus, but my friend had one.
We had a Mercury station wagon that was essentially a Ford Taurus.
You had a Mercury Sable?
Yeah, that's what that was. What was that? The same car? I need Taco to tell me that. He knows
I'm sorry.
everything.
What was the question?
Why was a Mercury Sable and a
Because
Ford
it was
Taurus the
owned
same
by
car?
because Mercury and Ford are the same brand. Like, I don't.
Well, I don't really know a lot about these kind of things, and I know that you do, obviously.
You once was trying to tell me about a car, and you called it some boxy car.
Some boxy car? I might have been talking about a Mustang in the 80s. I don't really remember.
I can't remember what you were talking about, but you said, "Oh, some boxy car."
Yeah, you know, any 80s car.
I don't even. Okay.
Anyways, okay, let's get back to our topic area for at least a moment. So we were talking about Florida. It turns out that Halloween is going to be fine. The area around that part where Halloween and a lot of different events had a lot of trees down and stuff like that, but it's going to be okay. They had a double whammy with those two different hurricanes too, but it sounds like they're going to be okay. And the reason I bring that up, we aren't going this year. I fully intend on going next year. But friends of the show and kind of sometimes guest hosts, Shayna and Maddie, are going to be there. And I literally just spoke with them, and it sounds like we're going to be able to talk them into doing another guest episode for us from Hula, from their campsite.
Oh, you already asked them?
I did.
You told me that like 2 seconds before we started the podcast. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
You were in there getting ready, and I messaged them on Discord. I'm like, hey, you guys want to do this? And of course, she was like, hell yeah, brother. And
That
Maddie's
is so
always
cool.
in. Maddie's
my
always
goodness.
in for anything.
Okay. I'm excited for that episode because
Yeah.
the last one they did was great.
Yeah, so that will be here in a few weeks. So we'll just give them the show for a week. So whatever they decide they want to do is good with me. Those are some of my favorite episodes that we do.
Mm-hmm.
I love editing together a lot of clips from Bonnaroo.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the one episode from our history that I have gone back and listened to is the one that me and the Okeechobee crew did down there. Another one that I have listened to is the history episode that we did about a year or two ago. But the one from that, I'm going to be honest, we were all pretty buzzed and having a good time. And that was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to having one that we're not on from Shayna and Maddie from Hula before too long.
Do you have a favorite episode?
That we've ever done?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think those history episodes that me and you did a lot of homework and put together. We did 2 rounds of those over the years. What about you? What's your favorites?
So I would say it's like episode 91, I want to say, and don't quote me on that, but it was the first time that we did not a live episode. It wasn't like live from Bonnaroo or whatever, but it was like when we did the clips from Bonnaroo.
Oh, yeah. Those are always amazing. We
And
put a
it was
lot of
like
work into those.
23, I want to say, or
Yeah.
something. That was my favorite.
We did try doing kind of like a live show one time 2 years ago in the group tent. And I went back and listened to that, and it is just anarchy.
I don't remember that
We
at
did
all.
it. We did it on like Tuesday or Wednesday at Bonnaroo before most of everybody got there. And I had the Wi-Fi, and I uploaded it from the back of the bus that night. No editing or anything. We
Oh.
played the music through the PA system that they had set up in the tent.
Oh.
So it was me and you on the mic, but then we would bring up a lot of guests. So like Chloe was on,
Oh.
Mitchell was on. You don't remember this at all?
Vaguely.
It was
Very
wild.
vaguely.
And I learned that's not us. Like that was fun to
No.
do, but that was difficult to make coherent. And I'm not really like a showman. Like I can be on mic if I need to, but like I'm not like totally comfortable as an MC for like an in-person event like that. We have a lot of friends that are. I'm okay at it. I'm good at it if I need to be for like a day job thing. But like that
you know
kind of
your
thing.
strengths.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at it, but I'm not strong at it. Like, let's say, for example, somebody like Mitchell. He is good at that. He loves making a scene. That's his favorite.
Well, we also did the clips episode this year.
Yeah.
And those are just talking to the random people. I mean, it's kind of like, it's similar. This is a weird example, but it's similar to what David Bruce does with the photos, but it's audio clips.
Yeah, I love that. We need to try to make a point to do that more next year. We seem to always make a lot the first couple of days, but then we start having fun and
Yeah.
misadventures
Distracted,
occur,
yeah.
and then we get distracted and
Misadventures.
forget. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we did this year, and this year I got the clip with the
Dad
You Would Have Loved Rue.
Yeah, the
You
tree.
Would Have Loved Rue.
Yeah.
Dad, yeah. And that was just one of the best stories out there. In
I
my
had a lot of
opinion. One of
people-
the greatest Bonnaroo stories. I mean,
Yeah.
just absolutely amazing. So just doing more of that and telling those types of stories out there and listening to those types of stories, because again, this is a storytelling podcast, and I absolutely love storytelling. You know, that's one of my things, and just those types of elements out there. So.
Mhm. I had a lot of people tell me that was one of their favorite things that you had done on the show in a long time, when you had that little mini interview with that girl. I wish I could remember her name at the moment.
Sarah, I think, but don't quote me on that.
We could do it another way. You know, like David Bruce, he has like a whole little like makeshift studio where people get their picture in front of the whatever it is back there, the backdrop. I mean, in theory, we could say like, "Hey, come to the bus at this hour." Come to the bus
and record your story.
Yeah. Let's do some of that next year.
That'd be cool.
But I don't want to like.
I don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are special when they're impromptu. When you just happen to bump into somebody.
Exactly. It's more special that way.
But we could get a lot more in if we said like, "Hey, come to the bus at 2:00 this day. We're going to sit there and record."
Well, see, it's kind of like that. Do you remember? I don't know what it's called. There used to be an NPR like. It was like a what's it called?
Well, that's all of NPR, really.
No, it's like that camper thing that.
StoryCorps.
StoryCorps, yes.
Because
StoryCorps.
back in the day, they came and parked at the Space and Rocket Center.
Yes, that's why I remember it. Yeah.
That was along the lines of what you're thinking about. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was cool.
I really think it would be cool if somebody, not us, because I don't necessarily have like the time or patience to put this together. It would be cool if somebody could do like a This American Lifestyle thing from Rue, where there's just a really in-depth look at a particular person's story, especially if they have like a really interesting one. Like if they're coming from a really rural place or had a challenging background or something like that. That's something that I would be really interested in listening to. I don't think I could do it justice putting it together myself.
Oh, Daniel, I 1000% agree with you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been saying for years, and I've said this online, and I've talked to people about this, some type of Bonnaroo documentary.
Yeah.
I would watch that. I would watch it 1,000 times. Like, I would watch that over and over and over. Like, I would love to see that. And, I've talked to people about it, and, I've heard from a few people, oh, yeah, I'm putting this together. Or I know somebody that's working on that, but I've never seen anything. I've never actually seen anything.
It would take a big investment. It would be the majority of somebody's Bonnaroo to do something like that.
Oh, yeah. It would actually be a team. It would be professional people. It wouldn't be.
Maybe that is an idea for a future Totem Scholarship recipient. If they want to get into radio, like, hey, make this and put it into your demo reel if you want to be like an NPR host or producer or whatever.
Exactly.
So, hey, I'm just putting the idea out there. If for anybody who is thinking about applying for a Totem Scholarship, that is a really cool idea.
I'm talking about something beyond a 2-minute YouTube video.
Yeah. Okay. This is kind of a freewheeling episode, so I'll kind of like go on this tangent. I'm not going to go into specifics because I don't want to call anybody out, but there was a little bit of controversy right after Rue last year because it came to surface that there was like some type of YouTube influencer that had been put up in a hotel and was given the VIP treatment. I'm not going to, call them out and say their name or anything, but it was like this foodie. It's like, oh, I'm going to try all this food at Bonnaroo. And I just don't think those things give you a clear view of what Bonnaroo is. If you're just having somebody talk really loud and give themselves some kind of crazy thumbnail for their YouTube video and they're just in and out and just like videos themselves like eating a couple of bites of everything, that isn't showing Bonnaroo. That is featuring them, not Bonnaroo. I really wish that there were a YouTuber or like an NPR person, like a podcast producer that could come and really tell not the full story of like how the festival comes together, because like, I mean, we're all nerds about that. You can listen to a bunch of episodes of the What podcast and learn how a festival comes together from the technical and back of house side. But I want to hear like the front of house stories, like the stories of the people that are coming. Like it would be cool if there was like an in-depth thing about like Red Roo and the beer exchange or the parachute people and stuff like that. Like a lot of us know those stories, but it would be cool if there was like a really in-depth NPR style piece or a YouTube documentary that showed the history of all these different groups and traditions. And I just don't have the time for it. I wish somebody did, What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I wasn't really thinking about an influencer so much, but more of a professional production team.
Yeah. I'll put it this way, and I'll use this metaphor since we just saw Gwen Stefani a week or two ago. something I always think about is the TV show The Voice. And when you think about that show, you think about the judges. Nobody ever remembers a person that actually sang on that show. So that's kind of why I had brought up the whole influencer thing, because I want it to be about the people that are singing on the show, so to speak.
Well, obviously, yeah.
And you're right. It would be awesome if This American Life came to Bonnaroo and was like, hey, we're going to show America through the lens of 3 people that we're going to follow and whose stories that we're going to tell from this really cool perspective of a music festival. Because we all know this. I'm going to be speaking to the choir when it comes to this. When you go to something like Bonnaroo and you're there for the better part of a week, you're living life as you want it to be. You're more authentically you. You're having genuine interactions with the people that you know and love. You're having the time of your life seeing your favorite bands. I feel like that is the best lens to really get to know somebody. And it would be cool if there was a documentary that showed that specifically. I don't think it's been done.
You keep naming very specific. You keep naming, This American Life.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the best.
Yeah, obviously. That's cool. That's super cool. That's awesome. But, I have actually worked with professional production teams. I don't know if that's even the right word for it. But
okay.
When we would have these crews come in at my former job, you would never sure, there would be some company name on paper, but it would be like, the so-and-so famous actor is coming in. That's what you would recognize.
Oh, yeah.
But you wouldn't necessarily know the production company, whatever.
I got you.
It's hard for me to explain.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is XYC production company is the professional production team that comes in and makes the show or whatever. And the show is called the blah, blah, blah documentary.
Yeah.
About the blah, blah, blah person that goes to Bonnaroo.
Yeah. No, we're agreeing on this. We're just seeing it from 2 different perspectives.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, I'll just wrap it up by saying we wish we could see that happen.
Yes, we wish there would be a Bonnaroo documentary.
Yeah.
That's where we're going with this.
Yeah. One of these days, maybe. I would love it if I had the time and resources to do that. It would be a fun project, but I don't.
But you'd make a 2-minute YouTube video.
No. We've been doing this for a long time now. It's fun putting audio together. Like Taco is always trying to talk us into doing video on this podcast, and I just don't have the time or really want to.
No, I wish we did do video because you could see me talking with my hands all the time.
No, I do like
and
it when you make the clips.
You can see my facial features, and 93% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah, you're right. I do like when you had been making those clips. We should do that more before too long when we really get back into the swing of things.
You know why I don't make those clips anymore?
Why?
Because we started doing Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
And the one time we did a Zoom, it came out like so, but it came out.
It just didn't work.
Yeah, it got recorded all funky.
Well, from now on, when we have a guest here with me and you, let's do that.
We'll have to figure out how to do the Zoom.
Yeah.
Record it correctly.
We'll get into that once we get closer to Rue. Like I had said at the beginning of the episode, we're kind of in a lull or the off season, so to speak, right now, right?
Yeah.
And
that's something I was going to bring up too.
What?
That's something that I was going to bring up. We did get new phones.
Yeah.
So when we're doing those clips at Bonnaroo, see, that held me back last year so much.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
That held me back so much from getting good clips because my phone was constantly dead because I had a really old phone and it was just dead. 95% of the time it was dead because it didn't matter how much I charged it, it would go dead. But now I have a phone that stays charged for like 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this year,
for the first time in our lives, we have new phones because like our provider was like, "Hey, you've been a customer for a long time. You want new iPhones for $30?"
Well,
we're like, "Yeah."
No, that's normal.
Well, I didn't realize that.
We've just always been like behind on phones.
Yeah.
But anyways, so now clips are coming.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm glad you have time for that, Charlotte. I haven't really had time to really dig into a lot of fun stuff like that, and I will before too long. And one reason I bring that up is I wanted to update everybody. So I'm going to disclaim this first of all. This is not Daniel speaking on behalf of his role at the day job. This is just me being a fan and updating you on stuff that's already public. A lot of you know that I had been excited about the Europa Clipper at the day job. I had spoken about that a little bit at the Monkey Bar at Rue, and then all of our friends haven't heard me shut up about that for the past year.
Mm-hmm.
You may have seen it was delayed a little bit because of the hurricane that passed through Florida that we had already talked about. But it looks like It will be continuing on its path here in the upcoming week, and it will be making the 5.5-year trip to Jupiter and Europa. So do me a solid and keep up with that and ask me about it in person. That's one reason I've been a little tied up and haven't been knee-deep in these things as I would like to be, but once that sucker gets launched, then I will be. We got a lot of totem stuff to do. Speaking of that, I heard you had some updates on where we're at with a lot of totem
So we are
stuff.
hoping to get our applications launched around October the 18th is the date that we launched them last year. So we're hoping to get our applications for 2025 launched around the same time.
Okay. So I have been seeing a lot of this behind-the-scenes work. A lot of those forums are coming together now, and it looks like we're going to have a totem board meeting on Wednesday night. That's when most of our board voted that would work for them, and that works for me because I got to go pick up Brooklyn at the airport on Thursday.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. So those meetings are pretty much open to anyone. We do stream them on Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it this week. And our Vice President, Evan, is working
Executive Vice President.
Executive Vice President, Evan Bonnaroo, is working on a new thing where we could have a member thing. So we'll have him on the show before too long to talk about that. But we're working on ways that people can get more involved. We have had a lot of good people come to the Discord on the Totem channel and say, like, hey, this would be cool, this would be cool. And, you know, all of us have day jobs, so we're trying to recruit more people to make those cool things happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to grow just a little bit this coming year from where we did this past year. So we're going to improve the mentorship programs and then do the scholarship programs again. We are inching closer to being able to start some real work on the international program that will be coming in a year or two. And we are also working on probably having a totem presence at Hulaween next year. So not here in a couple of weeks, but in 25. I fully intend on being there, so we're exploring how we can implement a mentorship and potentially a scholarship program at Hulaween as well. I think Hula is a logical next step. It has a great community. It has a good campground. So we'll see. I'm going to lean on Maddie and Shayna for that one since they know that community very well, but that is in the works. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that. So again, not this year, but next year in 25.
So something else, we are also working on having a Nashville event, hopefully coming up in January.
That's the plan.
And also a New York City event coming up in February.
Yeah, that'll be in the middle of February. Evan Bonnaroo, again, is working up a location for us. So more to come on that probably here in the next couple of months. So January in Nashville and February in NYC. And, you know, I think we can safely say that Totem is now dual-based. Because me and you here in Huntsville, and then we have our executive VPs up there in NYC with Evan and Skylar, right?
We've also got our treasurer in Chicago.
Yeah, so we're in a lot of different cities.
We've got our co-secretaries in Des Moines and Nashville.
Yeah.
We're nationally based.
We kind of are.
And we've got our digital manager in Salt Lake.
SLUT.
SLUT.
I learned that from them when I was over there about a year or so ago. I love that. There was a sign when we were coming back from Burning Man. There was a sign that said that SL, UT. Yeah. All right, Charlotte. On a related note, let's thank our Patreons because they're making all this happen with Totem.
Absolutely.
Let's go through the list.
We've got Casey, Christy, Charmel, Jums, Sarah, David and Aurora, Stringbean, Taylor, Sack and Jeremy, Amber, Andrea, JB, Austin, James, Chelsea, aka Hygiene Queen, Ryan, Chris and Shy, Dan, Ernst, Harris, Keith, Casey, Amanda, Aaron, Nick, Maddie, McFerg, Bruce, Kent and Emily, Randy, Eric and Ben,
Go Dodgers, I guess.
Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Thank you, everybody. We love you. Every cent of that goes to the Totem Foundation. You can find all of this at patreon.com/Rubus. And I'm going to be transparent. We bring in about $300 a month that goes directly to our new Totem bank account that we finally got set up.
Yes.
Do you want to tell the quick story about that? About why it took so long? We were using a PayPal account, but now we have a legit 501c3 bank account.
The reason it took so long is because Shayna lives in Chicago and I live in Alabama. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah, and we had to have our treasurer present at the bank to make that happen.
We had voted her treasurer, and they said she had to be present.
Get you a woman who can do both, who can be insane at festivals like she is, but also just like a professional badass when needed.
She had to be present to open the account.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the long and short of it.
I'm just going to keep bragging on her because it's her birthday and like Bonnaroo followed her. It's a good day. We were joking on like a whole Snapchat group text that we have. I was like, oh my God, Chicago is going to be louder than the day that the Cubs win the World Series.
So on that note,
yeah,
we will be transitioning from PayPal over to a system that is going to be on our website to accept funds. Like a real nonprofit.
Yeah, thank you for working. Sharla has been working so hard on all these things. Thank you, Sharla. We appreciate you so much. And our scholarship recipients and mentees are going to be thanking you next year, or at least I will on their behalf. So thank you for all your hard work, babe.
Hey, if you have any questions, you can email us at admin@totem.
Yeah, we have a admin account if you got anything, and we use that for our business. admin@totemfnd.
Or you can email Sharla at totemfnd or Daniel at totemfnd.
Or Evan.
Oh, totemfnd.org.
.org, yes, thank you.
Or Evan or Shayna or
hopefully
whoever.
Everybody knows that. Hey, one more thing before we go over to our picks. I wanted to replug that you should go check out vote.org because we're just literally a couple of weeks away from Election Day. You may be in an area already where you can vote early, so I hope you have already if you have that option available to you. If you need to know where you're going to go vote, if you need to know all those kind of details, go to vote.org. Be a good Bonnaroovian, be a good citizen, go vote here in just a couple of weeks. Very, very, very important. Now, Charlotte, usually at this point, I stick in a little music to transition to the second half of the episode.
You do?
Yeah, I usually do. You never listen to all the work that I put in on these, editing after the fact? But I'm going to skip that this week.
No, I'm like, what's his face, Adam Driver. I don't listen to myself.
Oh, my God. Oh, wait.
Flip the tables.
All right. Speaking of Adam Driver, I want to come back to something here in just a minute. You'll see. So, no transition music because this is a freewheeling episode. But for this one,
it's probably so annoying.
I talked to a couple of people in the past couple of weeks that said that they missed us doing picks of things. And I realized since we're kind of in a lull, maybe we could just devote half of an episode to going through things that we've enjoyed recently that we would recommend that people check out, right?
Okay.
All right. So, we're going to go through movies, albums, TV shows, video games, anything else you can think of. Let's start with movies, okay?
Okay, sounds awesome.
Do you want to kick us off?
No, you should kick us off.
I should kick
we're probably going to pick the same movie.
Well, okay. So, last night, you and I went to go see Saturday Night, which is essentially the SNL biopic. So, it's not like a cradle to grave thing about Lorne Michaels or any of the cast or anything like that, but it is essentially a real-time look at the hour and a half leading up to the first episode 50 years ago today, actually, on October 11th, 1974.
That's cool.
Yeah, or 75, whatever year it was, but it's 50-year anniversary. And it was just crazy. I just saw SNL posted on their Instagram that it was 50 years ago today that happened. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, if you don't recall,
wow.
And if you see the movie, you'll see this history. It was kind of like a fill-in because they were putting Johnny Carson reruns on Saturday night, and they thought like, well, hey, what if we tried something different? And it almost didn't work. And I'm not really going to say much more about that. Please don't look at the Wikipedia page or anything like that because it's fun to see that in real time. So it reminded me kind of like one of those Aaron Sorkin joints, like the West Wing, because you're doing a lot of like the cameras tracking people as they talk, walking down the halls. But this was from Jason Reitman, and there's a cool connection there because he's the son of Ivan Reitman, who was the director of Ghostbusters and some of those other movies with the original SNL cast. So it was kind of like keeping it in the family, so to speak. Now, Skylar and I had a big conversation on this very porch about a week and a half ago about SNL. We geeked out about it for about an hour, it felt like. And she confided in me that she was a little uneasy about this movie because she thinks it's a little weird that a biopic or whatever is made when the people are still alive. I do understand that because like you see very recognizable people in this movie. Like there's somebody else playing Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, Andy Kaufman, even though Jim Carrey already did that the best that anybody could do that. No offense against the guy playing him now. there's somebody that plays Jim Henson, which I thought, the makeup and the voice was really good. That was really cool. That stuff didn't really bother me so much. Did it bother you?
No, it didn't bother me, but I do understand about making movies about people that are still alive, or doing, biographies or whatever about people that are still alive. It is a little odd.
There was a little bit of a type of uncanny valley about
Exactly, yeah.
Because the way they did the hair and makeup and everything made them look almost exactly like their counterparts.
It was wild. But,
something feels just a little off because it's not them, because they're 50 years older if they're still around, The one that messed with me the most was the guy playing Dan Aykroyd, because he looked and sounded exactly like him. The guy that was Chevy Chase, he looks a little different. He sounds just a little bit different. But you could have told me they time traveled and got Dan Aykroyd from the 70s, and I would have believed it. And that just kind of messed with my head a little bit. The movie itself, I loved it. I already love Aaron Sorkin, stuff like that. I like, Jason Reitman. I almost said Ivan, his dad. I like his movies. They're kind of more a little frantic, a little talky. You remember he did Juno years ago. Kind of more of like I said, a talky kind of movie. I loved it. I don't think I got anything else to say about that. Is that what you were going to pick also?
Yes, I absolutely loved it. I do not like movies that are too in-depth and stress you out.
Well, this was a little stressful.
Well, hold on. My life is too stressful enough. I don't want to go to the theater and be stressed out for 3 hours. That's the last thing I want to do. So I do enjoy watching lighter movies. I don't like watching, I don't like action movies. I don't like thrillers. I don't like stuff like that. I'll just be very honest. I like comedies. I like lighter movies.
Carla refuses to go see Marvel movies with me.
That's a whole other topic. That is a whole other complete topic. We'll talk about that later. But I like to be entertained.
Yes. Did this entertain you?
And this entertained me.
Okay.
I thought it was great. I really liked where it followed them with the camera. But like you said, Daniel, it almost did have an uncanny valley because everyone looked just ridiculously identical.
Yeah. It was wild. Some of them seemed like they didn't try too hard to come across identical. Like the young guy that plays Lorne Michaels. I don't feel like he's trying to do an impression. Dr. Evil is basically an impression of Lorne Michaels. He wasn't trying to do the yes, I can't even do it. If you listen to the Fly on the Wall podcast, they're all doing impressions of him all the time. But he wasn't trying to do that. He just came across as just like a 20-something that was trying to put a crazy TV show in the air or whatever. And I kind of respected that because everybody has done impressions of him already. Anybody that's been a cast member on SNL has a Lorne impression. There
were some scenes, honestly, that just reminded me so much of honestly, our friend group.
Yes. I love that. I love it when there's an ensemble and you can tell that there's chemistry off camera and it just reminds you of hanging out with your own friend group,
Exactly. It's bingo. Yeah. Exactly.
And you could tell the actors playing the actors in this movie got along great. That really comes across on screen.
Exactly.
I don't think it really came across in the old SNL days because Chevy Chase pissed everybody off.
Yeah.
There was a scene.
Obvious,
there was a scene to that effect. Yeah. Hey, all right. Before we move on, I got a question, and I can go first if you need a moment to think about this. Your favorite SNL skit ever?
Oh, I'll definitely need time to think about it.
So me and Skylar talked about this.
Well, go ahead.
So I got one favorite ever, and then favorite recently. Favorite ever, the first Matt Foley. Because it is just an explosion when Chris Farley walks in the door and he's got that outfit on and he's acting crazy and the whole studio blows up. And I've told this story. I talked to a guy who was in the studio audience for that skit, live on air, and apparently nobody knew that he was going to jump through the table. They had to explain after the fact that only Chris and the prop guy knew about this, just to restore order in the studio before the next skit. That's my favorite ever. My favorite recently, because you brought this up earlier, Adam Driver as the oil tycoon guy. That is probably my favorite in the past 10 years because Adam Driver just so ruthlessly commits to the bit. He's like, his intent isn't to be funny. His intent is to be like a character from, what was that movie, like, There Will Be Blood or whatever with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because it's so serious. And I love it so much. All right, anyways, what's yours?
I don't know. There's just so many. And then there's like, my personal favorites are definitely not going to be good ones.
Well, what are they?
All right. People are going to make fun of me for this.
Maybe, but tell me.
All right. This is going to be so lame. Crunkmas.
You might have to explain that one because I don't think a lot of people remember that one.
Crunkmas.
Yeah.
You don't know Crunkmas?
This was about 15 years ago.
Oh, it was not 15 years ago, was it?
It may
It
have
was
been.
probably about 10 years ago.
It was probably like 2008, something like that.
No.
Yeah, I think it was.
It
Yeah.
was probably like 2012.
Okay, so the concept
13.
was it was a pre-recorded bit. It was a commercial for this crazy festival that was happening.
It was a commercial for like some kind of
It was making
No,
fun
let
about
me-
the Juggalos.
Daniel, I was getting to that. It was a commercial for a Juggalo-like festival.
Yeah.
And it was just all this kind of crazy stuff. And they were listing off the bands. And it was like, they were listing off the bands that were going to be at this festival. And it was just naming these crazy names.
Scrotum Fire.
When it was like, Frog Blast,
Yeah.
Scrotum Fire, Third
Third
Eye
Eye
Blind.
Blind. I remember they tweeted on their account like the next day, yes, we will be at Crunkmas.
Yes, we will be at Christmas. And I remember watching it live, and I think I literally rolled off the couch. And it was like,
Little Blaster.
Little Blaster. No, Little Blaster was like the girl.
Yeah.
And anyways, and it was like,
They're going to have a wiggity ass wait.
wiggity wait for our friend Ass Dan. And he would like come out off
It's like,
out
yo,
of the
I ain't
coffin.
dead.
Yeah. And it was like, Surgeon General C. Everett Koop challenging you to a mayonnaise fight. Anyways, I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life.
A 2D screening of the Owls of Gahul. Yeah.
And it was like, we have some twins from something. It was like, we have the whole cast of Family Ties. We got the mom or something.
Only the mom,
Only the
yeah.
mom. It was like,
Look this up.
yes,
It was
just look
really
it up.
funny.
Look up Crunkmas on YouTube. And
It is
find
funny
it.
to go back and look at it when you see a lineup for a festival come out and you don't know half the names. We think of that every time.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you'll see one of these. Okay, please, I'm absolutely not judging anybody's taste in music. You do you, baby. But you see these festivals and it's like, these like more Wook festivals. That's Crunkmas.
Yeah.
That's Crunkmas, baby.
Crunkmas has evolved into these like mid-tier EDM festivals. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Do you have any other movie picks?
So I did watch that movie that was directed. It had Channing Tatum and it was directed by Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah. What was it?
I wrote it down.
Oh, here we go.
I wrote it down in my notes. Blink Twice.
How was that?
So it was, I'd give it like a 6.5. It was good, but it was very confusing to like keep up with the, it was very confusing to keep up with if you didn't have your eyeballs glued to the screen.
Yeah.
Every,
I literally know nothing about this.
yeah, it was okay.
Sharla's review. It was okay.
I saw it on Taco's server.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I don't.
What'd you say? I didn't hear it.
I don't know.
Yeah. I got another pick. I'm going to throw it back a couple of months. I don't think anybody saw this hardly. Me and Charla loved the Tom Hardy Mad Max movie from about 5 years ago. And there was kind of a follow-up / prequel a couple of months ago with Anna Taylor-Joy as Furiosa. And nobody saw that movie. And it was just as good as Fury Road. You can download it or stream it or whatever now. Go check it out. I really love those two new Mad Max movies, and I just don't think this one was seen enough. Everybody complains, that we don't have enough female action leads, but then we get a great one, and then nobody went to watch it. I was so disappointed. It was just as good as Fury Road. Please go check it out. I loved it. It's amazing. Any other movies from you, Charlotte? You want to move on?
No other movies.
All right, let's move over to TV shows. We'll go to music next after that because I got a couple of albums that I want to review really quickly. You and I have both been watching Only
Only
Murders,
Murders in the Building.
and this season has brought it
Fire.
back. It is just as good as the first season, honestly.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be straight. Season 1 was great. Did not care for season 2 and 3 as much as season 1. Season 4, fire again.
I can't even remember what happened in season 2. I remember
Yeah.
season 3 because Paul Rudd was in it and it got kind of crazy, but it just got a little overly complicated and full of itself. But this new season, it's like found its footing again. It's easy to follow. It's hilarious. There's a solid mystery in it that I can't quite figure out.
I felt like in season 2 and 3, they were bringing celebrities on the show for the sake of having famous people on the show.
Yeah.
Season 4, no, like there's an actual like plot to follow in the show.
Yeah.
Like it's really good.
Now, season 4 probably has more celebrities in it than ever.
But
there's a little bit of a reason.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it's not just, oh, let's bring in a bunch of famous people because they want to have their part in this show that's now a hit
Yeah.
with Steve Martin.
What's crazy to me about season 4 is there are legit famous people that are bit players that just have like B and C roles in this. And I don't want to like name them because it's kind of fun to go in spoiler free and be like, what? This person is in this? It gets kind of wild, but it's not stunt casting. It's just like, oh, this person was available and they're pretty cool for
Right.
this role, you know? And I don't want to get into it, but there's like probably 24 recognizable names, like a handful that are just like, what? They're in this? For like all of 10 minutes? That's amazing. But yes, go check it out. You don't really have to have seen any of the previous seasons to enjoy this. It would probably help a little bit because there's kind of a subplot that they're making a movie of the podcast in the show, and it kind of helps to know if you've known a couple of things. But you don't have to, I don't feel like. Do you?
Right.
Yeah. So season 4, it's on Hulu. Go check it out. You got any other TV
So
shows?
good. No.
No?
No, I don't. We don't watch anything else.
Right. Something has to be good for me and you to invest our time in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do watch. No, let me back up. We do watch. We watch Law and Order SVU.
Oh, well, do you want to bring that up? Yeah, the first episode of like the 26th year.
I don't even remember what happened, so it must not have been that good.
Oh no, I remember because there was like a murder mystery that spun out of a threesome that went bad.
Oh.
That was a good episode.
Oh. I don't even remember. So
No, I was like traveling for work, and you sent me a Snapchat.
yeah, I was like,
It was
oh, do you want me to wait for you to watch
and
this?
I was like, yes, I'll watch that with you. And then we sat down and watched it, and I was like, whoa, that was actually pretty good.
No, because you were like, oh, now I do remember. Yes, because it was like 4 people shared one apartment, and one guy left, and the other 3 people started having a threesome, and he came back and saw him through the door, and you're like, oh, he killed him.
Red herring. Actually, that's a spoiler.
Yes, and I was like, no, it's not like this show ain't been on for 25 years.
You kind of know what's going to
I
happen
mean,
at
come
this
on.
point.
And I was like, no, that'd be too obvious. And no, clearly it wasn't him. It was just some other rando.
What's your favorite episode of SVU ever?
Ever? Oh, God.
Because I know my answer.
The pizza bomb?
Well, that was a funny scene, unintentionally. My favorite ever was, though, that episode with Robin Williams.
Oh,
Where he was that creepy
yeah,
guy.
that's pretty good, yeah.
That was probably like season
My
12,
favorite
13.
episode ever?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, that's too hard of a question.
I mean, there's a lot of bangers in like a quarter of a century in that show now. It's insane. You want to come back to that?
Yeah, that's too hard of a
All right.
question.
All right.
I'm going to think about that.
We'll circle around. I want to talk about a couple of albums that I've been listening to past couple of months. I just want to give a couple of quick, like, not really reviews, but thoughts.
Wait, Basketball Monkey.
What? Basketball Monkey? I don't remember that.
The one where where the monkey comes out of basketball?
Oh, wow. I remember that now.
Yeah.
I kind of go back and rewatch that.
Elliot and Olivia, they have to go undercover, and she's like a prostitute.
Yes. Okay, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, real quick, couple albums that came out the past couple months. I just never found the time to talk about them in the podcast. Let's start with Glass Animals. Their recent album. The first time I listened to it, I was in the car with JB on the way to Atlanta back in July or whatever it was. And me and him, at first, we were like, okay, let's be quiet and listen to this, see what we think, because there's a solid chance we're going to get them at Bonnaroo next year. And we got kind of bored halfway through it and started joking and talking around, and we just kind of forgot that it was playing. I love Glass Animals, but to me, on first listen, this album just sounded so samey. JB had a good way of putting it. It was like you asked AI to make some new Glass Animal songs. Now, that said, I have re-listened to a lot of it since, and it has grown on me. I don't think it's as forgetful as I thought on the first listen, but it is still certainly my least favorite Glass Animals album. I know that's going to be a hot take for some people, and I apologize. I am excited to see them again, but thankfully they have 4 albums worth of things to play and not just this one.
So I like some of the songs on there, and then there's one song on there I have to like stab my ears when it comes on. There's one song on there I can't like I physically can't listen to it. But there's a few songs on there I'm like, this is absolute fire, and I don't know why anybody's trashing it.
Yeah.
So it's like a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, it's a very mixed bag, but I have heard from people that have seen their live show in the past couple of months that it is amazing.
Yeah,
so,
I believe that.
So I'm not worried about it in terms of us almost certainly getting them at Root next year. I'd be absolutely floored and shocked if we didn't, to be honest. I'm not going to say too much there. All right. Another one I want to talk about is the new Gambino album because, you know, there has been a lot of back and forth. Are we going to have him? Are we going to not? But that's a great album to listen to anyways because he's always great. The new album, since it's purportedly the last album as Gambino, I personally felt like he was trying to, like, do as much as he could in one album. It feels like there's multiple different genres on that album. And from having listened to it, I was like, oh, the first third of this really slaps. But then it goes into some unexpected directions, which I didn't dislike. It was just like, whoa, that's surprising. It's just kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of different things. And I don't dislike it for that. It's just a little bit different than what he had done in the past with some of his different albums. I still dig it, and I would be very happy if we got him at Root. Last one I want to talk about is the new Tycho album. Me and you have a soft spot for him and his band. Saw him at Burning Man twice. We're finally going to get to see the full band at the Caverns here in about 3 weeks. The new album feels like he goes in a slightly different direction. Instead of like the low-key atmospheric stuff, he's starting to go a little bit harder and a little bit more adventurous. And we can tell you from having seen his final show on the Rhino at Burning Man a couple of weeks ago, he went hard. That was the hardest I've ever heard him go. It wasn't like, you know, stuff like A Walk or those other songs that are just like chill ambient stuff. This was some like old school rave stuff that morning at Burning Man, and I can't wait to see that stuff live with the full band in the cave here in a couple of weeks. So yeah, just want to talk about those 3 albums real quick, and here in about a month we'll have some shows to talk about because we got a lot coming up. So I'm going with Josh Wenzel, got Miracle 2 tickets to go see Billy Strings, and invited me along. I was like, hey, let me buy you a burger and a beer. I'm going to go with him. Going to that. Me and you are going to Tycho, and we're going to Rainbow Kitten Surprise before too long. Oh, and Goose in Nashville in 2 weeks. I'm so excited. Jables is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of Ruvian people there. All right, how about you, Sharla? What have you been listening to?
So you guys know that I'm the biggest Zach Bryan fan, but it is becoming increasingly harder to listen to Zach Bryan because there's been so much come out about him, you know, within the past few months. Not necessarily political stuff, but just there's been a lot come out about the way that he's treated girlfriends, wives.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about this.
Wives, etc. in the past. And it's just increasingly harder to listen to his music.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a struggle because his music and his lyrics are just everything to my entire life being.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's a struggle. So what do you do?
It's very tough, especially in a situation like this where there's just one voice. I'll give you an example. I can't do Harry Potter stuff anymore because the creator of that is just a horrible, horrific person. And I loved reading those books and seeing those movies when I was a little younger. But now I just can't look at those movies the same way. I don't want to touch it anymore because I know that the singular voice that those things came from are just a horrible. Like sometimes there is a situation where you have a company and like the CEO is a terrible person. There's one in particular. I drive their car. But you know, like there's a lot of other people involved that have good intentions, that are doing good work, that are good people. With something like art, you're listening to this from one singular person, whether it be a writer, or well, any kind of writer for music or movies or TV or whatever. And it makes it way difficult to weigh that in your mind. Can I enjoy this knowing that the person that this came from is not somebody that I can respect? You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
At least that's how I approach it, from like, hey, I just can't do Harry Potter anymore, you know? But how do you feel about it with Zach Bryan?
I don't know.
You're still working it out?
Yeah, still working it out.
Now, I will give it, like, he's got some banger music.
Exactly.
I've enjoyed listening to it with you. And I hate that I missed that show in Atlanta with you while I was gone.
Yeah. It's a struggle. It's forever going to be a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an eternal question. Can you separate art from an artist? For me, most of the time it's no. But what do you think?
I don't know. Like I said, it's a struggle. I don't know.
We got to have some conversations with people about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess that's a roundabout saying is I've been trying to listen to other artists. And another artist that I picked up in the meantime is Charles Wesley Godwin.
Ooh.
And I saw him at Bonnaroo, and he toured with Zach Bryan last summer. I think it was last summer. And he is absolutely amazing. Oh my God. So I've been on a Charles Wesley Godwin kick for the past few months. Just absolutely incredible. He's from West Virginia. And his album, I think the name of the album is Family Ties, I want to say. And his stuff is just so incredible. One of my favorites is Hardwood Floors. I think it's probably his most well-known song. And just so incredible. But Dance in the Rain is another good one. That whole album is just fire to me. He's just another, alt indie country artist. If you haven't heard of him, definitely check him out. He's not as well known as Zach Bryan, but he definitely just an amazing artist. He actually, at Bonnaroo, when the rain hit on Sunday, when the lightning started happening, he was on his very last song, last chorus of the last song, and they cut him off, like very last chorus, and the guy came up and tapped him on the shoulder and made him get off stage. It was wild. But yeah, Charles Wesley Godwin, check him out if you have not heard of him. And then that's
it?
Yeah, that's who I have been listening to. And also, I guess I'm just like the latest person to music of all time. Like my music tastes are like delayed.
Charles, like, have you heard of this guy called Beethoven?
Hey, you ever heard of the Beatles?
Oh my God.
I was so late to Chapel Roan, man. Like I didn't start listening to Chapel Roan.
Did you go to her show? I forget.
No, I didn't start listening to Chapel Roan until like late August.
Oh my God.
Like just so delayed.
Yeah, this is where Mitchell would hand you the Slowpoke Pokemon card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no, I just recently got into Sabrina Carpenter, and I know she's like a pop artist, or I don't even know like to me, like I don't even know like genres, like whatever. If someone if I like the tune, I'm gonna listen to it, like whatever. Yeah. And sorry, we've been rambling for a while.
Well, that was the whole point of this episode, honestly.
So, anyways, I've been getting into Sabrina Carpenter, is what I'm saying, and I love everything about Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
Everything about Sabrina Carpenter. It is a slay.
Well, why does it appeal to you so much?
Because, Daniel, it is very female empowering.
Oh, okay. Well, I hear you. I respect that.
And it is very just positive and uplifting.
Okay.
And it's very upbeat. I don't like slow music.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting to be that way myself.
When I'm driving to work in the morning, the last thing I want to hear is, no, I want to hear upbeat music.
So you don't want some Bon Iver in the morning?
No.
I hear you. That makes sense.
No,
I get that.
I want to hear upbeat stuff.
Yeah.
So I put on Sabrina Carpenter and go to work. It's very positive, very upbeat, except the only thing that is a negative about Sabrina Carpenter. And now, all around the house, every day of my life, I'm just like, motherfucker. Just all over the house, all day, every day. I'll be like in the office, I'll be going to the coffee machine, motherfucker.
Oh my God. You'll be saying under your breath like that?
Yes.
Wow.
All day, every day. I go to my boss, it's like,
oh my God.
A 60-year-old German. I'll go to his office, motherfucker. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Oh. No, I get the upbeat thing because, like, when I'm going to, like, a work thing and I kind of need to pump myself up to have more energy.
Oh,
it's like 15 minutes of the dripping tap. Here we go, you know? I totally get it, yeah. Hey, I want to circle back around the TV shows real quick. First of all, did you have another SNL thing besides Crunkmas?
No, that's all I had.
That's all I had. Okay.
Oh, that time Will Ferrell came in there with a little bitty cell phone.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That was really funny too. But yeah, real quick, I want to go back to TV because I can't go through TV and not talk about the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I could talk about it for an hour. It is good. It is better than the first season, honestly. It isn't the most textually faithful thing, but I think it's very faithful to the spirit of Tolkien. And they dropped some bangers this season. There was a great battle episode towards the end. And then somebody ended up being somebody that we suspected that they were all along. And I have thoughts on that, but we're going to wait a while on that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, last thing. And we'll circle back to you to see if you got anything else. But just video games real quick. Chloe gave me a good compliment while she was here. She was playing a Mario game on Switch that I recommended like a long time ago. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's one thing that motivated me to doing like more picks. Video games real quick. I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws. It's kind of like a open world kind of Star Wars game. People have been begging for that to happen for a long time. It's pretty darn cool. It isn't perfect. I don't think it's as good as like one of those recent Assassin's Creed games or Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead or anything like that. But it's close. It's still cool. They'll probably do a sequel and it'll be just as good as one of those games. If you're curious, I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun. You'll be sucked into it for like hours a night. Also, this is adjacent to something that a lot of people have been talking about in Rue circles and on this podcast recently. I think a lot of Ruvians have not really been ashamed of the fact that, like, wrestling is a thing for them.
It is.
Me and Chloe were debating if we wanted to go see WWE because, like, Sunday of South Star got called off, and it was like, hey, they're in town that Sunday, and we, like, thought about it for a minute because me and her both wanted to go see Ray Ripley fight somebody. If you are on PS5, they have made this year's WWE video game free this month, so I think you can download it until the last of October if you're like PS Plus, whatever. I had been fooling around with that past couple nights. It's free, so wrestling, that's fun. That was the thing I was just going to pick. Usually those monthly games aren't the best, but this month it was like, hey, you want to play WWE? And I'm like, yes, I do. That's fun. So I was Cody Rhodes, and I beat Roman Reigns last night. That's what I was doing in my office room back there. All right, that's the picks from me. Sharla, any other picks from you at all?
I've been reading a book.
What's your book?
You'll have to ask me about it personally.
So not on the podcast, ask you personally. Then why are you bringing it up while we're
I
recording?
don't know.
Oh, I can recommend some books, man.
I think we've gone to our hour.
We have. All right, so here in the next couple of weeks, we are working on getting Brad and Corey from Bonnaroo back on the show. Here in like 3 or 4 weeks, something like that, whatever it ends up being. I haven't even asked. I'm waiting for Austin City Limits to be over because I know they're swamped over there. And we're going to have that live episode from Hula that Maddie and Shana are going to do for us. And then before too long, it'll be pre-sale season, so there will be a lot to talk about in terms of rumors and other Rue news. We got probably a month to go in this big like hole of no news. And
something about the What podcast I was going to bring up, and I don't remember.
Oh, you got tea?
No, it was no tea. It was something funny.
Really? Well, I can tell you a lot of funny things about those guys.
Dang, I'll never remember.
Yeah, well,
I'll never ever remember.
It's just like Barry never remembering that joke from that night over at Lindsay's property. Nobody will ever know.
No, it's so good. And I was like, oh, I gotta. Oh, shoot.
All right. Well, if you got nothing else, we may take another week off. I don't know. We'll see. We've been doing every other week unintentionally because we've been so busy and there's not that much.
Because you keep having to, because the hurricanes.
Yeah, well, that has been a problem. But also, like I said, it's the off season, so there isn't a ton to talk about. But
Something so good.
She'll think about it between now and then. We'll see you guys next week, maybe the week after. We'll see. Till then, stay safe, get out there and radiate positivity. We'll see you soon.
Bye.